The steel door slams shut. Marcus Webb sits on a concrete bed, staring at walls so thick that screaming would be pointless. His hands are still shaking, not from fear, but from the realization that just 19 hours ago, he walked through those doors as a man. Now he's inmate 24758-045, locked inside the most secure prison in America, where silence isn't golden, it's mandatory. And what he doesn't know yet is that the worst part of his first 24 hours is still ahead of him. 24 hours earlier, Marcus Webb woke up in a county jail cell in Denver, Colorado. He'd been there for 8 months awaiting sentencing. Armed robbery, assault on a federal officer, and attempted escape. The judge had shown no mercy. 25 years in ADX Florence. When Marcus heard those words, his stomach dropped. Every inmate knows about ADX. It's where they send the worst of the worst, terrorists, gang leaders, serial killers. Marcus wasn't any of those things, but his attempted escape from a federal transport vehicle had sealed his fate. At 32 years old, he was about to enter America's only Supermax prison, a place designed to break the human spirit without ever laying a hand on you. The armored transport van pulled up to ADX Florence. Marcus couldn't see much through the tiny window, but what he could see made his blood run cold. Concrete, razor wire, guard towers that looked like something from a military base. The facility sat in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by mountains. Beautiful scenery for the most brutal prison in the nation. As guards pulled him from the van, shackled at the wrists, waist, and ankles, Marcus took his last look at the open sky. He wouldn't see it again for months, maybe years. One guard leaned in close and whispered, "Welcome to hell, inmate. Everything you thought you knew about prison? Forget it. If you think you know what happens next, you don't. This story gets darker than you can imagine." Hit that subscribe button right now, because you won't believe what Marcus experiences in the next 21 hours. Processing at ADX Florence isn't like regular prison intake. Marcus was stripped completely naked in a cold, white room under fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry wasps. 3 guards stood watch as a medical officer examined every inch of his body, checking for contraband, weapons, anything. They documented every scar, every tattoo, every identifying mark. Marcus had a bullet wound on his left shoulder from a shootout 5 years ago. The officer circled it with a marker and wrote notes on a clipboard. Then came the cavity search. Humiliating doesn't even begin to describe it. This was the first lesson ADX taught. You're no longer a person. You are property of the federal government. In a small room with concrete walls and no windows, Marcus sat across from Warden Patricia Hendricks. She was a stern woman in her 50s with gray hair, pulled back tight, and eyes that had seen everything. "Mr. Webb," she began, her voice emotionless, "you are now an inmate at the Administrative Maximum Facility. You will spend 23 hours a day in your cell. You will have 1 hour of recreation in a slightly larger concrete box. You will have no physical contact with other inmates. Ever. You will eat alone. You will shower alone. Your mail will be monitored. Your phone calls, if you earn them, will be monitored. Visitors must be approved, and they will see you through reinforced glass. Do you understand?" Marcus nodded, his throat too dry to speak. Hendricks continued, "Good. Because the moment you step into general population at ADX, the clock starts on your mental survival. Most men break within the first year. Don't be most men." 2 guards escorted Marcus down a corridor, so quiet he could hear his own heartbeat. The walls were poured concrete, 12 inches thick, designed to dampen any sound. Cell doors lined both sides, each one solid steel with a small slot for food trays. They stopped at cell D, 117. One guard unlocked it with a series of electronic beeps, and the door slid open with a mechanical hiss. Marcus stepped inside, 7 feet by 12 feet. That was his entire world now. A concrete bed with a thin mattress. A stainless steel toilet and sink combination bolted to the wall. A small concrete desk and stool. And a window, 4 inches wide, 42 inches tall, positioned so he could see nothing but sky. No bars, just reinforced concrete and a small slit of light. The door slammed shut behind him, and for the first time in his life, Marcus understood what true isolation felt like. A metal slot in the door opened with a clang. Marcus jumped. A plastic tray slid through, beige food on a beige tray. Mashed potatoes, some kind of gray meat, green beans that looked like they'd been boiled into submission, and a carton of milk. No utensils. ADX inmates eat with their hands or are given a flexible rubber spork that can't be fashioned into a weapon. Marcus sat at his concrete desk and stared at the food. He wasn't hungry. Fear had killed his appetite. But Ramirez's voice echoed through the vent again. Eat new fish. Eat everything. You're going to need your strength for the first night. That's when the screaming starts. Marcus forced himself to eat, each bite tasting like cardboard. He didn't know what Ramirez meant about screaming, but something in his gut told him he'd find out soon enough. As Marcus lay on his thin mattress, his mind drifted back to the moment that had landed him here. 8 months ago, during a federal transport from a courthouse in Denver, Marcus had made a decision that would define the rest of his life. The transport van had stopped at a red light. Marcus, handcuffed but not shackled, had somehow managed to kick out the rear window. He'd actually made it 15 feet before a U.S. Marshal tackled him to the pavement, breaking 3 of his ribs. It was stupid, desperate. But Marcus had panicked when he heard he was looking at 15 to 20 years for armed robbery. Now, because of that 15-foot escape attempt, he'd earned himself an extra 5 years and a one-way ticket to ADX Florence. As he stared at his concrete ceiling, Marcus realized that those 15 feet of freedom had cost him everything. Marcus began to explore his cell, every inch of it. He ran his hands along the walls, feeling the rough concrete. He tested the bed, the desk, the stool. He flushed the toilet, ran the water in the sink. Cold water only. He discovered that the light in his cell was controlled from the outside. There was no switch. The guards decided when it was day and when it was night. He found 3 books on a small shelf, a Bible, a dictionary, and a Tom Clancy novel from 1994. The previous occupant had left pencil marks on the wall near the bed. Hash marks. Marcus counted them. 247 marks. Had the last inmate counted days? Hours? Mental breakdowns? He didn't know, but he made a decision. He wouldn't mark the walls. He wouldn't give ADX the satisfaction of watching him count his way to insanity. A guard stopped at Marcus's cell door. The slot opened, and a face appeared. Officer Brennan, according to his name tag. Young guy, maybe late 20s, with a military haircut and hard eyes. Webb, you settling in? Marcus approached the door. As much as anyone can settle into hell. Brennan smirked. Funny. Look, I'm going to give you some free advice, because I've seen guys like you come through here. You weren't a terrorist, you're not a gang leader, you're not a serial killer. You're just a guy who made some really stupid choices. That means you've got a shot at keeping your sanity. Here's how. Routine. Wake up same time every day. Exercise. Read. Talk to Ramirez through the vent. I know you've already met him. Don't fight the guards. Don't cause problems. And whatever you do, don't listen to the screaming at night. It'll make you crazy. Marcus nodded. Thanks. Brennan's face disappeared, and the slot closed. Marcus stood there, wondering if that guard had just offered genuine advice or a cruel preview of what was coming. The cell door opened electronically. Recreation time, Webb, a guard's voice announced through a speaker. Marcus stepped out into the corridor, the first time he'd left his cell in 6 hours. 2 guards escorted him down another hallway and into what they called the rec area. It was a concrete box, maybe 10 feet by 15 feet, with walls 20 feet high. At the top was a metal grate that let in natural light. No equipment, no weights, nothing, just concrete and sky. You got 58 minutes, one guard said before locking him inside. Marcus looked up at the sky through the grate. He could see clouds moving, birds flying. Somewhere out there, people were living normal lives, going to work, picking up their kids from school, complaining about traffic. And here he was, standing in a concrete box, staring at the sky like it was a precious gift. He did push-ups, 75 of them, then sit-ups, running in place, anything to feel human. When the 58 minutes ended and the guards came to escort him back, Marcus realized something terrifying. That concrete box had been the highlight of his day. Back in his cell, another tray arrived. More beige food. Marcus ate mechanically, his mind wandering. After dinner, the lights in his cell began to dim. Not all at once, but gradually, like a sunset. By 7 p.m., his cell was dark except for a faint glow from the corridor lights bleeding through the crack under his door. Marcus lay on his bed, eyes open, staring into the darkness. This was it. This was his life now. 23 hours in this box. 1 hour in a slightly bigger box. Every single day. For the next 25 years. The math was crushing. 9,125 days. 218,900 hours. He'd be 57 years old when he got out, if he survived with his mind intact. Marcus was drifting into an uneasy sleep when he heard it. A scream, not a yell or a shout, but a raw, primal scream of pure anguish. It echoed through the ventilation system, bouncing off concrete walls, distorted and inhuman. Marcus sat up, his heart racing. The scream continued for 10 seconds, maybe 15. Then silence. Then another scream from a different voice. Then another. Then another. Within minutes, it sounded like a dozen men were screaming, some in rage, some in despair, some in what could only be described as madness. Marcus covered his ears, but the sound penetrated everything. Ramirez's voice came through the vent. I told you, Hermano. Every night. Some guys can't handle the silence, so they scream. Some scream at guards. Some scream at God. Some just scream at themselves. Marcus whispered back. How long does it last? Ramirez replied. Till they get tired. Or till the guards gas them. Whichever comes first. 2 hours later, the screaming had mostly stopped, replaced by an eerie silence that was somehow worse. Marcus lay in bed, wide awake, when he heard a new sound. Crying. Deep, soul-crushing sobs coming from the cell next to him. Not Ramirez's cell, the other side. Marcus spoke toward his wall. Hey, you okay over there? The crying stopped. A voice, thick with emotion, responded. No, I'm not okay. None of us are okay. We're all dying in here just slowly. Marcus didn't know what to say. The voice continued. You're new. I can tell. You still think you're going to make it. You still think you're strong enough. But this place breaks everyone. I've been here 9 years. 9 years of this concrete box. And I can't remember what my daughter's face looks like anymore. I can't remember what grass smells like. I can't remember what it feels like to shake someone's hand. Marcus felt his own throat tighten. What's your name? He asked. Does it matter? The voice replied. We're all just numbers here. But if you need something to call me Ghost. Because that's what we are in here, ghosts of the men we used to be. As midnight struck, though Marcus had no way of knowing the exact time except for the shift change he could hear in the corridor, he experienced his first complete mental breakdown. It hit him like a freight train. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't a nightmare he could wake up from. This was real. This concrete box was his reality for the next 25 years. His breathing became rapid and shallow. His chest tightened. Panic attack. He'd never had one before, but there was no mistaking it. He stood up, paced 7 feet from wall to wall, turned, paced back. 7 feet. That's all he had. He wanted to scream like the others, but his pride wouldn't let him. Instead, he pressed his forehead against the cold concrete wall and focused on breathing. In, out, in, out. Ramirez's voice came through the vent, softer now. I hear you over there, new fish. Fighting it. That's good. Channel that fight. You're going to need it. This is only hour 18. Marcus has 6 more hours until his first 24 are complete, and what happens next will change him forever. Smash that like button and subscribe, because you need to see how this ends. Officer Brennan's face appeared at the door slot. Welfare check, Webb. You breathing in there? Marcus walked to the door. Barely. Brennan nodded. First night's always the hardest. You made it past the screaming. That's something. Now you just got to make it to sunrise. Marcus asked, does it get easier? Brennan was quiet for a moment. Honestly? No. It gets different. You adapt. You find your rhythm. But easy? Nothing about ADX is easy. That's the point. This place was designed by psychologists who studied sensory deprivation. They knew exactly what they were doing, creating a prison that punishes you without ever touching you. Solitary confinement used to be considered torture. Now it's called administrative segregation, and it's completely legal. The slot closed, and Brennan's footsteps faded away. Marcus stood there, processing what he'd just heard. This place was engineered to break him. The question was, would he let it? Unable to sleep, Marcus heard Ghost's voice again through the wall. "You still awake, new guy?" Marcus responded, "Yeah, can't sleep." Ghost said, "Let me tell you something about this place. The first 24 hours, you're in shock. The first week, you're angry. The first month, you're depressed. The first year, you're numb. After that, you're just surviving, day by day, hour by hour, sometimes minute by minute." Marcus asked, "What did you do to end up here?" Ghost laughed bitterly. "I was a gang leader, ran a crew in LA, ordered hits, moved product, the whole 9 yards. I was ruthless on the outside, but in here, I'm nobody, just another broken man in a concrete box. The irony is that I used to order people into isolation as punishment. I had a basement where we'd lock rivals for days at a time. I thought I was hard, but I never imagined what it would feel like to be on the other side. This is karma, I guess, and I've got 17 more years to think about it." Ramirez's voice suddenly came through the vent, urgent and sharp. "Hey, Webb, Ghost, shut up for a second. You hear that?" Marcus listened. At first, nothing. Then he heard it. Footsteps. Multiple guards running, shouting. The mechanical hiss of a cell door opening somewhere down the corridor. More shouting. "Medical emergency in D-108. Get the AED. Move." Marcus felt his stomach drop. Someone was dying. Or dead. Ghost's voice came through the wall. "Happens more than you'd think. Suicide. Heart attack. Sometimes guys just give up, and their bodies follow. D-108. That's Morrison. He's been here 14 years. Guess he couldn't do day 5111. The commotion continued for 20 minutes. Guards running, radios crackling, the sound of equipment being moved. Then silence. Heavy, oppressive silence. Ramirez finally spoke. "They're taking him out. Whether he's alive or dead, he's out. In ADX, that's the closest thing to freedom some men ever get." Marcus sat in the darkness, his back against the wall, knees pulled to his chest. He thought about Morrison and D-108. 14 years in this place. What could drive a man to that point? But even as he asked himself the question, Marcus knew the answer. This place. The isolation. The silence. The endless, crushing monotony. He understood now why the warden had warned him. This wasn't about physical survival. Any healthy person could survive in a clean cell with food and water. This was about mental survival. And that was 1,000 times harder. Marcus made a decision in that moment. He would not become Morrison. He would not become a screamer. He would not become Ghost, unable to remember his daughter's face. He would survive ADX Florence with his mind intact, no matter what it took. But deep down, in a place he didn't want to acknowledge, a small voice whispered, "Everyone says that on their first night." Marcus stood up and began doing push-ups. 30, then sit-ups. 50, then burpees. 20. His body was exhausted, but his mind needed the distraction. He recited everything he could remember. His mother's phone number, his childhood address, the lyrics to his favorite songs, the Pledge of Allegiance, anything to keep his brain active. Officer Brennan had said routine was key. So Marcus decided right then. Every morning at 5 a.m., he would exercise. He would wash his face with cold water. He would read one chapter from whatever book he had. He would not let the concrete box define his existence. He would define his existence within the concrete box. It was a subtle but crucial difference. Ramirez's voice came through the vent, more serious than before. "Webb, you listening?" Marcus walked to the vent. "I'm listening," Ramirez said. "You're going to face a choice in the next few weeks. Everyone does. You can fight this place, or you can accept it. If you fight it, you'll go crazy. If you accept it, you'll go numb. The trick is finding a third option. Acknowledge it without letting it consume you." "You hear me?" Marcus replied. "I hear you. But how do you do that? How do you acknowledge hell without becoming part of it?" Ramirez was quiet for a long moment. "Then, you find something bigger than yourself. For me, it's my daughter. She's 17 now. I haven't seen her since she was 11, but I write her letters. Most of them get rejected by the censors, but some get through. She's the reason I'm still breathing. You gotta find your reason, Webb. Find it fast. Through his narrow window, Marcus saw the sky beginning to lighten. Pink and orange streaks painted the clouds. He'd made it. 24 hours inside ADX Florence. He was still breathing, still sane, still Marcus Webb, not just inmate 24758-045. The cell lights began to brighten gradually, simulating sunrise. A new day, his second day, but also his first full day because yesterday didn't count. Yesterday was shock and processing and chaos. Today was the real beginning. The slot in his door opened, and a breakfast tray slid through. Oatmeal, a banana, and a carton of orange juice. Marcus sat at his concrete desk and ate slowly, methodically. He'd survived the first 24 hours. Only 9,124 days to go. As Marcus finished his breakfast, he experienced a moment of clarity so powerful it nearly knocked him over. This was his life now. Not a temporary situation. Not a test. Not a challenge to overcome and move past. This was his reality. But within that crushing realization came another one. He had a choice. He could let ADX destroy him like it had destroyed Morrison, like it was destroying Ghost, like it might eventually destroy Ramirez. Or he could use this time, these 25 years, to become someone different, someone better. Not because he wanted to or because it would feel good, but because it was the only way to survive with his humanity intact. The rehabilitation the federal government claimed to offer wasn't going to happen through their programs. It was going to happen despite them, in a 7-by-12-foot concrete box, in the quietest moments when no one was watching. Ghost's voice came through the wall one more time. "Hey, new guy, you make it through your first night." Marcus pressed his hand against the wall. "I made it." Ghost asked, "You scared?" Marcus thought about lying, about pretending to be tough. But something about this place demanded honesty. Terrified, he admitted. Ghost laughed. A real laugh this time, not bitter or broken. "Good. That means you're smart. The ones who aren't scared on the first day, they're the ones who don't last. Fear keeps you sharp. It keeps you human. Don't lose it." Marcus replied. "What if the fear becomes too much?" Ghost said, "Then you talk to the wall. You talk to the vent. You talk to yourself if you have to. But you keep talking. Silence is the real enemy in here. Not the guards. Not the concrete. Silence." Officer Brennan appeared at the door slot again. "Morning, Webb. How's day 2 treating you?" Marcus approached the door. "I'm still here." Brennan nodded approvingly. "That's more than some guys can say after their first night. Listen, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you've got a visitor request pending. Your mom. She's requesting video visitation for next week. You interested?" Marcus felt his throat tighten. His mom. He hadn't thought about what this would do to her. 72 years old, living alone in Phoenix, and her only son was locked in the most secure prison in America. "Yeah." Marcus managed to say. "Yeah, I want to see her." Brennan made a note on his tablet. "Approved. Thursday at 2 p.m. 15 minutes. Don't make me regret vouching for you." The slot closed. Marcus sat on his bed, and for the first time in 24 hours, he felt something other than fear or despair. He felt hope, a tiny, fragile spark of it, but it was there. Marcus established his routine. After breakfast, he would exercise for an hour. Push-ups, sit-ups, burpees running in place. His cell was 7 feet wide, so he could take exactly 3 steps before hitting the wall. He paced while counting. 1, 2, 3, turn 1, 2, 3, turn. After exercise, he would wash using the cold water from his sink, cleaning himself as thoroughly as possible with the tiny bar of soap they provided. Then he would read. He started with the Bible, not because he was particularly religious, but because it was there and it was long. 1 chapter per day. After reading, he would write mental letters to his mother, to his sister, to the friends he'd left behind. He couldn't send them yet, but forming the words in his mind kept him connected to the outside world. And in the afternoon, during his recreation hour, he would exercise again, harder this time, pushing his body to its limits so that exhaustion would help him sleep at night. On day 7, Marcus had his video call with his mother. She appeared on the small screen in the visitation room, her face older than he remembered, her eyes red from crying. "Marcus," she said, her voice breaking. "Baby, are you okay?" Marcus wanted to lie, to tell her everything was fine, that he was safe and comfortable. But he'd promised himself honesty in this place. "No, Mom, I'm not okay, but I'm surviving, and I'm going to keep surviving." His mother wiped her eyes. "I'm so sorry I couldn't help you. I tried to get a better lawyer. I tried to—" Marcus interrupted her. "Mom, stop. This isn't your fault. I made my choices. I kicked out that window. I tried to run. This is on me. But I promise you something right now. I'm going to use this time. I'm going to become better. When I get out of here, I'm going to be the son you always deserved." His mother nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I love you, Marcus. No matter what. I love you too, Mom." The screen went black. 15 minutes. That's all he got, but was enough to fuel another week. On his 30th day inside ADX Florence, Marcus received his first letter from the outside. It was from his younger sister, Angela, who he hadn't spoken to in 3 years. She'd written, "Marcus, I don't know if you'll even read this, but I had to write. Mom told me where you are. I won't pretend to understand what you're going through, but I want you to know that I forgive you. For the fighting, for the stealing, for missing my wedding because you were locked up. I forgive you for all of it. And I hope that someday you can forgive yourself. You're still my brother. You're still human. Don't forget that. Love, Angela." Marcus read the letter 17 times that day. He memorized every word. And that night, for the first time since arriving at ADX Florence, he slept for 6 straight hours. When he woke up, the concrete walls were still there. The isolation was still there. The 24 years and 11 months remaining on his sentence were still there. But something had shifted. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was living in a 7 by 12-foot box with 23 hours of solitude each day. Marcus Webb was choosing to live. And that choice, he realized, was the most powerful thing ADX Florence could never take away from him. 3 months into his sentence, Marcus stood at his window during the pre-dawn darkness, waiting for sunrise. He learned something crucial about ADX Florence. It wasn't designed to rehabilitate. It was designed to warehouse, to isolate, to punish through deprivation rather than brutality. But he'd also learned something about himself. He was stronger than he'd ever imagined. Not physically, though 3 months of constant exercise had transformed his body, but mentally, spiritually. The man who'd kicked out that transport window in a moment of panic was gone. In his place was someone more focused, more intentional, more aware of the consequences of every choice. Ramirez was still in D-119, offering advice through the vent. Ghost was still in the cell next door, fighting his own demons. Morrison's cell, D-108, had a new occupant who screamed every night for the first 2 weeks. Officer Brennan still did welfare checks. His mother still requested video visits every week. Angela had sent 4 more letters. And Marcus? Marcus had found his reason to survive. Not just to get out, but to prove that even in America's most brutal prison, in the darkest isolation imaginable, the human spirit could endure, could adapt, could even against all odds find meaning. The sun broke over the mountains, and light streamed through Marcus's 4-inch window. He'd survive his first 24 hours at ADX Florence, then his first week, then his first month, now his first 90 days. 24 years and 9 months to go. But he'd take it 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 breath at a time, because that's all any of them could do in the Alcatraz of the Rockies. Marcus's story doesn't end here. If you want to see more deep dives in the most extreme prisons in America and the real people who survive them, you need to subscribe right now. I've got an insane video dropping in 2 days about the most violent prison riot in U.S. history, and you won't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.